guys, welcome back to our channel.
Thanks for joining us today. For those of you that might be new here, I'm Sarah and I am the owner of Oak and Barrel Meats. We provide pasture-raised, non-GMO, soy-free meats to Central and North Kentucky and Southern Ohio. We do direct home delivery, and our channel is basically about what it's like raising a family on a farm. We recently relocated from California to the beautiful state of Kentucky, and that's what we do. We make videos about once a week. Follow along with us as we build our farm and raise our 3 girls in this beautiful state and on this beautiful 87 acres that we have. So today we're doing something exciting for the girls. Well, I'm excited for it. This is kind of back to my roots of starting off as a homesteader. Today we are picking up some rabbits for the girls. We're getting 2 little bunnies, and I am at Tractor Supply right now getting some of the supplies that we needed. And Ryan and Ella, I've got Emmy with us. She's being kind of crabby this morning. Hi. Can you say hi? No, see, crabby. Ryan took Ella and he went to pick up the 2 bunnies, and I am here waiting for our order at Tractor Supply. Just needed some, I needed alfalfa pellets for our goats, and then I also needed the waterers and some rabbit feed to go along with the hay that we'll be feeding them. So join along with us today as we gift the girls these little bunnies and see what they think of them.
So we're back from Tractor
Supply. I thought I would just show you guys a couple of things that we got. This is the little rabbit hutch that was already here. It's got a little house, and then this side is kind of closed off. We got 2 boy rabbits. They're silver fox rabbits, and right now, since they're young enough, we can keep them together, but we will need to divide them at some point within the next month or so. So I'm just going to put a little divider in the middle of this cage here, and that should be plenty of room for each of them. I would imagine that the girls are going to have them out a whole bunch. We want to be able to handle them a lot, so that's the plan, is that they're going to go here together, and then we'll Emma wants to let the goats out. But I did get like a little water for them, and it comes with a little spring so I can hook it up on the side of the cage. I got them some rabbit food, but mostly they're going to eat the hay, and luckily they can basically eat the hay that the goats eat, which is here. Yes, we'll let the Bunnies out in just a little bit. Yeah, did you see them? She's playing with the goats. So I'm going to hook this up, and then Ryan and Ella should be back shortly with the rabbits, and we'll show those guys to you. Look, can you say bunny? Say bunny.
No, she just wants to push the red button.
What did we just get?
Bunnies.
How many?
2.
Did you? You so excited?
Uh-huh.
What are we going to do? Are we going to take them home?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We're going to play with them?
Mm-hmm.
Look at me. You excited?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay, love you.
I love you.
morning, guys. It's actually the next day, and I've just been thinking, I don't know, I thought I'd just kind of share it with you. So, having this farm right now, how we have it with very few animals, and being excited over, the 3 or 4 eggs that we're getting, and these cute little bunnies that we got, it totally reminds me of when I first started raising animals. We had moved back from the Bay Area. I was born in San Luis Obispo County, where I'm originally from, and moved back from the Bay Area, got a couple of acres, and got some chickens, and of course it quickly escalated into dairy goats, and started raising pigs for our family, and then got into some of the more homesteading activities like raising meat chickens. Of course, I always had a garden. I actually even had a garden up in our house in the Bay Area. It was just a regular, truck home, but I had a bunch of tomatoes growing, and it just made me think of it and how awesome that feeling was to be raising that stuff for my family, for ourselves. And my older kids were little. Samara and Jacob were little at the time, and they loved, going out and collecting eggs and helping milk and helping make cheese, and having the girls get to experience that now kind of at the same level. Even though our farm is bigger, there still isn't as many animals. It's still more of just for ourselves right now. And while I'm itching to get started production farming, because it's what we do, and I definitely am missing it, it's kind of nice to have just these animals for us, and just have this time to reflect on why we do what we do and how we got started. I'll actually post, I did a podcast the other day with somebody that I met online, and he had asked for people that were interested in doing podcasts, production farmers, or people homesteading. And I did a podcast and just kind of talked a little bit about, how and why we got started. But it was more technical, just with the number of animals that I started with, and how and all that kind of stuff. But, part of the reason that I got started doing what I do is it was 2008, and things, if you remember, were a little uncertain. I was young, and I had young kids. Jacob was 6, and Samara was a little bit older, but it was a scary time. There was a lot of inflation happening. House prices were plummeting. Jobs were being lost, and it really does remind me of what's going on now, with prices going up and up and up, and it just being a little bit of a scary time for a lot of people, and maybe especially for people who weren't adults in that era and didn't experience it. Even experiencing that, it's still a scary time right now, and not knowing what's going to happen, the uncertainty of everything. So being able to grow your own food, being able to be somewhat self-sufficient with things and control that price of, how much your groceries are going to cost, and that you have some meat in the freezer, or you have put up some vegetables or whatever, it does help. It definitely makes you feel more secure. I mean, even just having these couple of chickens, and we're getting eggs, and I don't have to buy some eggs at the store, and I'm trying to find a buck to be able to breed these goats, so at least I know I'll have milk in the spring. It does help. It makes you feel more secure. So, I talked a little bit in the podcast. He asked, if I had any recommendations for people that may not live on, big land or acreage or whatever. And I mean, like I said, I started growing vegetables for my family when I lived outside the Bay Area. I was literally 45 minutes outside of the city of San Francisco, which we all know is, a huge city. I had a little postage stamp sized property, and I grew vegetables. I had tomatoes and peppers, and I think I grew some eggplant that year. It's been a long time. And then I put it up. I canned tomato sauce, and I made some salsa, and it was really my first taste of what that felt like. And man, I loved it. That was That was in 2002, 2000, no, probably earlier than that, probably 2000. And it felt good. It felt good to do that. And when we moved back to San Luis Obispo County and we had 2 acres and I was able to plant a bigger garden and get vegetables, it felt good. But I guess my point is that even if you're on just a city lot, or even if you're in an apartment, for goodness sakes, you can still grow things. You can grow, if you're in an apartment, you can grow salad greens in your windowsill. If you have a balcony, I mean, there's things that you can grow. There's towers that you can plant lettuces and radishes and beets and, things like that. Carrots, and I think you can plant carrots in them. And honestly, grow where you are, plant your roots where you are, because nothing can stop you from doing that, really. Have a couple of potted tomato plants in your backyard. A couple of years after the girls were born, and I was pregnant, there was no way I was planting a garden. I just couldn't hack it. And I had tomatoes in pots. I had 10 acres of production farm, and yet I was growing tomatoes, tomato plants in pots. And that was what I did because it was all I could manage at the time, and it was enough. We had tomatoes. I didn't can anything, but we certainly had fresh tomatoes for eating that summer, and it was awesome. I'm actually really struggling this year, not having any vegetables from our garden. With the move, we just couldn't. I had some tomatoes, but I didn't get a big harvest off of them before we left. And while there was a couple of tomato plants here, I think she had planned on leaving too, so she didn't plant anything. So it wasn't as great of a year of canning, and of course we we left all of our meat behind when we moved. So we are struggling a little bit with not having that, and hindsight being 2020, I wish we would have ran a batch of meat birds when we got here, but it is what it is. There's nothing to do about it now. Besides the point being that I understand again what it feels like not to have that that source in the freezer. Not have the meat or the canned veggies or the resources of having all of that access. And yeah, I definitely can feel for somebody that may not, and honestly will remind you again to get started if you want to. Get started where you are, because it doesn't hurt to get started right away. So anyways, I'm going to feed the goats and check on the bunnies. I'm going to make the girls come out and feed and check on the bunnies, and I got to let the chickens out in just a little bit. So yeah, good morning, and thanks again for hanging out with us today.